Anxiety was defined by Buckwell and Dishman in 2002 as a negative state of worry, apprehension, or tension that often occurs in the absence of real or obvious danger. Typically, the tension felt by the anxious individuals is accompanied by a heightened state of physiological arousal. Unlike stress, anxiety is a negative emotional state caused by feelings of apprehension regarding situations that are possibly threatening, as an athlete might have doubt in their ability to cope with them. Anxiety can be experienced either psychologically or physically. Cognitive state anxiety is psychological and was defined by McNally in 2002 as the negative expectations and concerns about one's ability to perform and the possible consequences of failure. This is essentially emotional feelings like worry, apprehension, and negative thoughts. On the other hand, somatic state anxiety is a physical component of anxiety, which can be noticed by increasing heart rate or blood pressure. This type of anxiety is dependent on the person's perception of the physiological changes of the situation. There are two types of anxiety: trait and state anxiety. Trait anxiety is a part of an individual's personality as they have a proneness to worry. This means that they are constantly worried regardless of the environment they're in, as they feel threatened in situations that are not threatening, leading to high state anxiety. State anxiety refers to cognitive or somatic feelings that are exclusive to situations. It's a temporary mood state that is an emotional reaction to threatening situations. A type of state anxiety is competitive anxiety, which is triggered in an athlete when the performer perceives sporting situations as threatening and can impact them before and during competition. It was defined by Hackford and Schwenmezger in 1989 as usually following patterns of subjective feelings of tension and inadequacy combined with heightened arousal of ANS. The autonomic nervous system is responsible for controlling the internal organs and structures that are unconsciously controlled. This means that an increase in arousal from competitive anxiety can, for example, be detected as rises in heart rate leading up to an event due to the apprehension and worry of an athlete, possibly the fear of failure or a bad performance. An athlete's tendencies of competitive anxiety have four factors: the individual differences in how they interact with different situations, the different types of anxiety that they experience, a specific anxiety trait that they experience only in a competitive environment, and the nature of the competition itself. Anxiety can be affected by personal factors, for example, if they have trait anxiety, their self-esteem and their social physique anxiety, or situational factors, for example, the importance of an event and the uncertainty. Anxiety can be measured by observations, questionnaires, and physiological changes like heart rate and sweating. A test for competitive anxiety is a competitive state inventory, or CSAI-2, by Martens 1990. It uses self-report to measure cognitive state anxiety, somatic state anxiety, and self-confidence. Expected results would show cognitive state anxiety being high for a while before the event with a steady increase leading up to it before a decrease after it starts. Cognitive anxiety can take many paths depending as the chance of success or failure changes during the match or event. On the other hand, somatic state anxiety would begin low with a rapid increase as the event gets closer, and then a rapid decrease during the event. IZOF stands for Individual Zones of Optimal Functioning, which suggests that different athletes have different preferred levels of anxiety to perform at their highest level. This is so they can perform effortlessly at their maximal performance and arousal with confidence and satisfaction. Han in 1986 found that each athlete has their own optimal level of anxiety, which can produce their best performance. This suggests that two professional level football centre-backs would have their own level of anxiety even though they have the same role. IZOF can be affected by an individual's personality, whether they're introverted or extroverted, the type of the task, whether it is simple or complex, the stage of learning, associative or autonomous, and their experience, novice or experienced. This could be criticised because athletes have different levels of anxiety in different situations, for example, in a friendly match versus a cup final. In the first scenario, The fact that Nick would take part in higher standard games could mean that he suffers from high levels of cognitive anxiety due to worry and apprehension of consequences of losing leading up to matches because he has to perform at a high level, considering he is number 2 seed, causing cognitive anxiety as suggested by McNally's definition. Also, Nick is said to experience nausea before games and can't apply tactics that he practices. This shows that he experienced somatic and cognitive state anxiety because the pressure of the game overwhelms him to the point that he can't think normally due to the increase in arousal linked with anxiety, showing both cognitive and somatic impacts. The fact that he can perform in training but not in games could show that he suffers from competitive state anxiety. Furthermore, Nick is an A-grade student who is said to constantly worry about his grades. This shows that he actually suffers from trait anxiety because he always worries regardless of the situation that he's in, suggesting that it is in his character to be anxious. This explains his nausea that he experienced before games. In scenario 2, Sarah tends to have poor performances against rival colleges, Lewis and Vardine in the league. This shows that she worries and has an apprehensive view on the games as they approach, and consequently she would build up cognitive anxiety leading up to the games, and may notice somatic anxiety changes before the game, for example, high heart rate and clammy hands. Also, the fact that the crunch games are often scheduled at the end of the season, there is more time for her to worry and to be apprehensive about the games, causing higher cognitive anxiety. However, the fact that she has a higher scoring average of 86% in training sessions and other local games, this shows that she experienced competitive state anxiety. She is not a naturally anxious person. However, she clearly perceives those games as potentially threatening. It is said that Sarah's teams are not supportive and do not accept her poor performances in the crunch games. This shows that Sarah may experience additional cognitive anxiety from the pressure put on her from her teammates, as well as from the fact they do not calm her down, as they clearly notice something's not right. Rachel, on the other hand, is said to thrive in the crunch games. This shows that she does not experience high levels of cognitive anxiety.